Welcome to Spiritual Clearings, where we clear and transmute the energies of the collective across time, space, and dimensions. Using the Akashic Records, we access imprints from the past, present, future, past lives, and parallel realities to bring truth, clarity, and soul-level healing into the now. Let's align with the highest frequency available today, shall we? Aloha, Candace Box here, your spiritual teacher and alchemical energy healer. Welcome everybody to Spiritual Clearing Friday. I'm very excited to support you in clearing yourself as well as the collective consciousness, because we are working with the micro and the macrocosm, which basically is just a reflection of itself. So if you've never been here before, I use my pendulum and charts in order to find what is inhibiting us from really expanding into our potential. It's interesting for me right now. We've just kind of entered into the Taurus season, and I'm finally like, I can rest in this energy, because for me, as an earth sign, the fiery energy of Aries just makes me a little go cray-cray, and I'm actually sleeping a lot more and feeling sometimes a little chaotic. And so with this Taurus energy, I feel like I can chill out and get more grounded. So if that's something you're feeling as well, please do tell. Also, one of the things I want to address today too is the planet Uranus that is literally going to be in effect for this next 7 years in the astrology world. And what this means is a little bit of change and chaos, meaning things are going to be thrown up in the air for us to begin to see what fits or doesn't fit. And so for many of us empaths and sensitive souls that kind of feel into the energies, we might kind of freak out during this time, because everything that we have thought and believed to be true is literally coming up for grabs. Meaning, do we believe this way? What do we mean when we say these things? Because now we're attempting to align to our soul instead of the past conditioning. So very excited to talk to you about some of this stuff. And Vinny, thank you so much for being here today. I'm going to go ahead and get us started on a song. I like to play a song while I prep us to work. And what I mean by prepping us to work is I connect our high self team, the schools, as well as the high self of the group, and make sure that we're in cooperation and harmony so that we can get the most highest and most beneficial information for this clearing today. All right, so the song I've decided to pick today is called Stay a While by the Cactus Channel, and it's some chill vibes. Hope you like it, and listen, breathe, be present as I support in calibrating us and tuning us in. Here we go. Alrighty, darlings. I am so excited to share with you today, because we're in a place where there is a lot of shifting and changing going on. Last week, I talked about our identities, and once we begin to realize we're not like this fixed identity, we are continuously evolving and morphing. Now we can kind of start to take a look at the environment around us, because if we're shifting and changing and evolving, guess what else is shifting and changing and evolving? What is out there. Why? Because again, we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. And so with that, we can get very sensitive to the energies, especially in the times of change. And we can make things mean something about ourselves when actually it's just what's occurring. The most important aspect here is being neutral, because everything is shifting and changing and reconfiguring itself, and we're starting to look at things from a new lens, which is this higher plane of experiencing things that's bringing in the light, bringing in the love, and maybe things aren't as cut and dry as we thought it was, which is meaning that we are realizing maybe I wasn't the victim or I wasn't the perpetrator. So there's a lot of shifting and changing here, and I'm really excited to do this with you guys today. So who here has been feeling the shifts even more so than ever? Me. I'm noticing it in how I respond to the environment, because in my head and in my body, I'm feeling the energy, the call to participate in a way I used to, which is the reactionary piece. And my mind is going to tell me the story of how I do things and why I need to choose that way and protect myself. And the other aspect of me is like, can we just be in observation here? Can we begin to see it? We feel it. It's pulling us towards it. But simultaneously, we're in a place where it's like, okay, let's just look at this. Maybe it isn't what it seems, right? The reality of life is shifting and changing. And so we're redefining each moment based on who we are and what we're experiencing right now. I had a friend that I was meeting with a couple days ago, and she does like wealth coaching. And what was beautiful about participating in her course was she was talking about how the credit card agencies talk about, they charge high interest payments, and we get really angry about that. However, what if we begin to redefine it and go, wow, this company is actually giving us money to buy the things that we do wish to have, right, on credit. However, we're in a place where we deem the credit card companies bad, but maybe they aren't bad. Maybe they're people that work there and they do the things that they need to do. And what the credit card companies are as a system may not necessarily work for where we're all going, because it keeps us in the self-perpetual cycle of needing money, as well as survival mode, as well as debt, which then doesn't really support us at all. However, when we can be in gratitude for what the company is doing, especially because we participated and we agreed to it, then we can begin to work with it instead of against it, right? And with that, we're starting to see like there's everything that can be reknown from a higher level. And what's interesting is we're learning about the sixth dimension in our embodiment class right now. And it's so powerful because ultimately it shows the potential of everything, even the so-called negative things that we deem negative. It's there, it's created. It might not be completely in resonance with who and what we are, but in the time that it was created, it was an idea. It was a potential of something that could boost economic systems or support people and their purchasing power, right? When ultimately, eventually, as it went on and we attached ideas to it, like rich and poor, then it became a system that no longer works for any of us, right? So we want to begin to look at things in that way. And another one that's really coming up very strongly is this idea of love and relationships, right? We go into a relationship with an idea about what we want within a person. And, based on our interactions, we feel like, oh, they have the same idea without fully getting to know the person, right? We don't ask the right questions. We just kind of sit in each other's energy field and we're like, ooh, this feels good. But ultimately, when we look at the criteria of what one comes from, like their culture, their environment, their upbringing is completely different. So there is going to be some nuances of different power dynamics and differences in ideas. And ultimately those patterns are coming up to be seen, to be reknown. But what happens is we begin to argue with each other. We begin to not accept the differences. We begin to have these expectations and ideas, which then doesn't support the relationship. And then we're like disenchanted, resentment, bitter, or sad and depressed because it's not what we thought it would be. When in actuality, we all kind of gave in to an idea of it, right? Everything is an idea. It all comes into form through light, through sound, and through these configurations of what we think it could be like. And then when we bring it down and through the different structures, we're starting to see like, well, maybe we need to redefine those things, because the way that it's lived out, the way that it's shown on TV, the way that it's shown in movies or even in our environment is not our own structure, right? It's not a part of who we are, because we're all very different. We're all our own separate individual, unique snowflakes that have a part of the whole. And so when we're getting into our careers, our relationships, or our idea of motherhood, or even our idea of marriage or idea of relationships, things are up for grabs. And I think what's cool is relationships can redefine those parameters. And it's important to check in with each other to see if you're still on the same page. But what happens is we get comfortable, we sit and relax in these relationships thinking it's going to be like this forever because that's what the movies tell us. And ultimately it's not, because guess what else is happening? Change, right? The change of who and what we are. We're constantly evolving. Our identities are shifting. How and why? Because we're interacting with different people, with the world, with different ideas. And so those are beginning to inform who and what we are. But you stay the same at your core frequency. So the beautiful piece of that is we have these beautiful emotions that sometimes get pulled in either direction. Either the volume gets turned up really high, or even if it goes really low. And so we're starting to attune our frequencies to ourselves, to know who and what we are, and then express ourselves to others of who and what we are. But ultimately, there's a lot of protection around this, right? Like I was saying last week on our identities, we've protected ourselves because, being in relationships or going for what you want can create some fear, some heart walls that go up, this whole notion of, because everyone's so different, then there's a little bit of uncertainty, right? However, we've made this idea of planning out our lives, planning out our relationship, planning out how things should be and look like, when ultimately, again, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? It's like the only thing you can tell is this present moment. And with this present moment, we're given the opportunity to create our future by what we choose, right? Yes, there's a point A, which is where you are, and a point B. And the mechanism to get there can be any which way, but when you let go of the outcome, you might get something completely different or close or even better than what your mind can conceive, because the mind is just based on these ideas instead of what is the potential, what is possible. So why am I saying all this? Because again, with the Uranus energy in this state of flux and chaos, we're kind of coming to terms with what we agreed on inside of ourselves and how we've behaved within those structures, which have created some well-worn grooves in your life, meaning it's really hard to stray from what you've done and how you've been, because anything outside of that, you don't know yourself to be. So of course, you're going to stay away from that because it brings up uncertainty and fear. However, with the chaos and change, we're actually all being called to shift and evolve. It's just part of the process. Why is that? Why do you think it is that we're all being called to shift and evolve? Well, let me tell you. One of the aspects that I've been learning, as well as, teaching at New Paradigm Healing Academy with our students, is that there is a lot of fear-based beliefs, a lot of ideas born out of fear to protect ourselves, to do things that are, from a frequency that actually is not quite beneficial to all involved. And with that, we have these ideas that then dictate our story, which then dictates what our external world looks like. And if we take a look honestly at what's going on in our world, there is a mixture of this polarity, division, different ideas of who and what we are. And each side is fighting, right? Why are we fighting when we're all of the same cloth? Because we're so protective around these identities and these ways of being that we want to uphold what has been, when in actuality, those things no longer support where we're going. Some of them do, it's like really, if we attune to what is a fear-based belief and what's a love-based belief, we begin to see like, wow, one is expansive and the other is contractive. Where also what's stored in fear will create more fear. And think about war in general. War will create more fear, will create more chaos, where love will create more love and allow for more expansive, beautiful potentialities to occur, right? But we kind of limit ourselves because that energy only can produce what it is. So we want to begin to see where we're putting our focus and energy on. And with that is the beautiful conduit that's you. You have an ability to begin to focus your attention, focus where you're going, focus on like what frequencies you're attuning to. So if you are understanding what I mean, drop the word frequency. Our frequency, especially when it's enacted from our true selves, is one of the highest frequencies, literally higher than love. Why? Because that energy is like our original blueprint, the potential of you, which is also connected to God, Source, Creator, to all that there is, right? And when we're in that zone of our center, we can begin to make choices not from what we see, not from what we think, but from this place of this knowingness of who and what we are. And my favorite set of books that I've been reading constantly, because it always supports me, is Paul Selig's collection of books, channeled by the guides. And with that, it's like we begin to realize like we've always known who and what we are. We've just got sidetracked. We've got pulled into the energy of the collective, of the ideas, of who and what we thought we believed to be true, and ultimately forgotten like what powerful creators we are. And so as we're really moving from what we've created ourselves to be on this earth plane to knowing who we are, we're actually embodying that love. We're embodying that truth. We're embodying it. And so it's like the divine is living through us and informing the field of what is possible, the potentials. However, a lot of the potentials feel limited because of this three-dimensional form. So we kind of ascribe our lives to what we need to do in this linear time and space, when in actuality, once you really tune into your authentic self and follow your values and your personal path, it's like life rises to meet you in a way that helps you flow into what is your potentials, right? Especially as we're evolving and shifting and changing from what was conditional to what is unconditional and what is potential. So the clearing today is really around the potentialities, right? Because remember, it all exists. Otherwise it wouldn't be here. You know, the so-called good and the bad. You know, Paul Selig says, how does he say it? All is of God, or nothing is of God. And what that means, especially to me, is that, you know, everything is a potential. And in that potentiality, it's just really which one are you feeding? Because the noise, the figures, because it's there, but we can focus. So we want to really focus on the potential life that we are calling in, because it's here. It's existing on this quantum realm that's holographic, and we just gotta align to it, right? And the alignment is what's within yourself. And so we're clearing away the energies of the traumas, clearing away the dissonance of the distortions that we've had, and we're remembering again and knowing who and what we are. So how do we do this? Let's clear some of this stuff. What is keeping us from this potentiality of our true selves? Let's look at that. So it's a block to a positive expression. Which is inside to the right. And it's an acceptance. You know, when I think of the word acceptance, it's like, you know, it's an acceptance of like, here we are. We have created what we've created. There is no going back and changing what has been. We needed it. It was necessary. Why is that necessary? You know, one of the ideas I've had is why it's necessary is we needed to know ourselves separated from source and what was potential there. And the potential of that is a lot of chaos, is a lot of things that might be from a different frequency that isn't connected to source. And in creating this, we were like, oh shit, like this is not what we prefer. And what we tell our students oftentimes is when we know what we don't prefer, we begin to create what we do prefer. Especially if you have the willpower, the willingness, and the desire to bring yourself out of that potential life that you were so-called raised with, born with. Like we can all make ourselves different and remember who we are, but we needed to learn who we are not in order to learn who we really are. And so in that separation, you know, of course, we're going to come across this whole notion of who we are. And so we're blocking ourselves and not really seeing the potentiality of who and what we could be. So let me check this inside the left. As we begin to learn about gaining our freedom from the conditioned aspects and to think freely and to be freely and live freely from our heart, we're starting to see what really connects us all. And in that evolution of that, we're seeing like we can restore things, we can redefine things, we can reinstate who we really are. So let's go ahead and clear this energy of blocking to give us ourselves the freedom and the acceptance of what is right now, because it is what it is, right? Until it's not. And so what we're doing is now in the acceptance of the way things are, we're not bypassing things. We're allowing ourselves to go, okay, this is what it is. We accept that it's here and we can choose completely differently. And the more people get on board with the choices that are more love-based beliefs, man, things are going to change immensely and radically because the energy is being focused in that direction, right? A lot of people are still in a place that are focused on things that are disillusionments to this world and reality. And it doesn't have to be that way because we're all starting to be conscious and wake up. And with that, we're being shown where we're giving our energy to those places and spaces within each and every one of us. That's why Uranus is there to show and reveal what's coming up to be seen within our worlds. So it's been some shitty shift. You're funny, Michelle. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So cleared, accurate, complete, 100%. When we come to an acceptance, that is definitely when we can fully change it because, again, we're seeing the duality of things and we accept that it's here, it's been created. We can't uncreate something, but we can begin to shift the energy of it into something more that is beneficial for each and every one of us. It just takes the shift within ourselves, which then shifts it in the macro. All right. I didn't even know that any of this is what I was going to say. Seriously, it's just coming up. So let's go with it. All right. Is there something else to clear around the chaos that we're being brought into? What is it? chart 20. It's a higher spiritual chart, which is about refining our consciousness. Alrighty. So what's cool is we're clearing out the conscious, the subconscious, the DNA, the chromosomes, the past compartments, and levels at all levels of consciousness. Like, what the hell does that mean, right? So what's really cool is, this book I've been reading about the sixth dimension talks about our DNA and how basically, we have like these two strands that the scientists can understand, and the rest literally junk DNA. It's like, how can that be? We have junk DNA. Maybe it's just not activated, right? Because maybe the energy has been so completely dense and we've all been so programmed that we believe like this is what it is, when actually when you start awakening, we can begin to shift and change our own patterns, our own life, and our own reality. And the more that we do that, we don't cling on to this way of life or this way of being. We actually open up to more of that potential of who and what we are. So when we're clearing out the conscious subconscious, we're clearing out the DNA chromosomes and all paths and compartments of all levels of consciousness. Basically, what we're doing is, like, again, erecting up what actually is within that needs to be re-examined, re-looked and looked at. So we can begin to see it from a whole different level. And so we're refining our consciousness so that we can focus on the things that we do prefer to create and let go of the noise that's in the background that's screaming, pay attention to me, in a way that begins to focus your attention there and continuously create the thing over and over and over again, not realizing it just is like the Groundhog's Day, keeping you within the same pattern. That's why feeling your feelings is so important, because your energetic body is like full, right? And if you can release and dissolve the energy, it's like you have more access to your gifts, you have more access to the cosmos and the light realms, and you have more access to the earth and the energies that it's like informing you about, right? More and more people are feeling this way, especially as you are clearing the energy, you are doing the work. And so in that, you begin to see like there's so much more about who and what you are than you could have ever imagined. Like, how freaking beautiful is that? All right, so let's go ahead and clear out our conscious, subconscious, and all DNA, chromosomes, paths, and compartments and levels at all levels of consciousness in order to activate the DNA strands, in order to access the human potential, in order to let go of what we've been conditioned around and give ourselves this opportunity of this grand, immense potential change that's occurring for each and every one of us. My guides are saying, each and every one of us, type it down, each and every one of us. It's not just for some, it's for each and every one of us. And how it shows up is completely different from each person. Why? Because each and every one of us is our own little universe, and we're all here on our own personal journeys and our own reality based on what we perceive and how we do things, because we're all living within this realm, but also with different conditions and factors and ideas and context and content that is helping us take on a piece of the pie, right? To help us like re-examine a particular area of this energy called humanity. It's still clearing. I swear, sometimes I feel like this is gonna fall out of my fingers. Which, by the way, if you feel called to learn about your intuition, your pendulum work, energy work, we do have a class coming up soon, and we're actually taking open enrollment. So if you would like to learn more, message me and we'll share more. Sorry, I got cat hair in my lashes. Also, I just want to share with you also, we're going to have an awesome masterclass coming up April 28th, 29th, and 30th. And what it's about is the 5 keys to stop absorbing everyone's energy and start to return back to your true self. Because this is what's crazy. You know, I was with my partner and I started to feel like not beautiful. And it would happen every time I was around him. And that was, you know, he'd always tell me how beautiful I am. I always felt really sexy, but all of a sudden it started to really hit. And I was like, what is this? And I started getting insecure. And all of a sudden, it dawned on me. I was like, is this even mine? I was like, let me check on that. And I tested my pendulum. I was like, nope. And I'm like, oh shit. I was like, is this his? And I was like, yep. And I was like, oh my God. So because my energy, you know, attunes to everything, I took it on as my own identity and my insecurity, when ultimately it was something that he's been dealing with that he didn't realize he was emitting, like a frequency, right? And so it was so powerful, because then recognizing, like, I was absorbing that energy and knowing it's not mine, I was like, oh crap, like, hello. Because I was like, I feel great, I feel cute, I feel beautiful, like, why do I feel so insecure all of a sudden about my looks? And lo and behold, it was something that he was holding in his subconscious mind. Oh my God. So that's kind of the things that we're going to talk about in that masterclass. Again, April 28, 29, and 30. And if that's something you're wanting to attend, then DM me and I'll send you the registration link. It is for free. So Michelle says, each and every one of us. Yes, it is each and every one of us. We all ascend or we don't ascend. No one gets left behind. That's like the whole Ohana thing. Like, the beauty of that is we are a whole Ohana. You know, we are one living organism upon this earth that is also us. That is, like, literally we're all ascending. That's why the massive chaos, right? It's like everything is being shaken up right now. The earth's being shaken, the people, the plants, the animals, it's all being shaken, because we're moving through this ginormous shift of energy from what was to what is and has always been, that we've forgotten. We're just remembering who and what we are. Okay. Is there anything else to clear around our topic today of the potentialities? What is it? Okay, we're going to 9B, which is our health and well-being chart. And what do we need to work with? Constructive thoughts, which actually makes sense, right? Like, constructive thoughts just means, like, again, where are we putting our focus and energy to? And believe you me, my brain will go straight into my fear-based beliefs, because that's a well-worn groove. And to think differently, to think outside the box, you know, can be a little stretch, because it's like, I don't know what that looks like. However, what if you got quiet? What if instead you didn't let your thoughts run you, but instead you activate your executive functioning brain and go, I wonder what is possible. I want to get curious about, you know, what else could be here. And it's interesting, because I can do that for my clients. It's like I can see all the different potentials and the patterns and do this reading for them. And for me, it's like sometimes blocked, right? Because I, probably like you, get really attached to an idea of how things should be. But maybe, like I said, we're redefining it. You know, I was working with another wealth coach today, and they talked about how they didn't feel in integrity with being a wealth coach, because the idea of being wealthy meant, you know, jets and designer handbags and a big beautiful house, and yet she's like, I'm humble. I'm in a place where I want to create and support women in creating wealth, to live their lives and who and what they are. I'm like, well, maybe you're redefining that, because the new paradigm is not necessarily connected to capitalism and the narrative of marketing and how you need this and that in order to look successful or be wealthy. Maybe it's a whole new breed of people that are in a place where it's like, I know I'm abundant and resourceful and I always get what I need when I need it. And I don't need like a massive amount to be this billionaire, millionaire, to like live life. But I would like to make money in order to sustain my lifestyle, or even also expand it into what's possible for me, but not necessarily on the realm of going on trips every week or even being taken care of by my man. It's like we're recognizing like that idea has like literally been implanted in our brains, like especially for men and women, you know. Oh, women, I talk to a lot of women and they're like, I just want to jet fly around the world. I mean, I do too. I just want to like, buy all these beautiful clothes. Of course I do too, but ultimately, is that the highest and best for you? Like, or is that you keeping up with the Joneses, right? Which in the new paradigm, that doesn't work because it's not about comparison. It's about like your true authentic self of what is it in here for you that is probably sustainable, that is probably connected to a strong foundation of your relationships, your career, of how you do things, and you're not just blindly like working your ass off, ruining your relationships and destroying your health and getting to a place where you're, hey, wealthy, but everything else is squashed. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no more, because ultimately, like the illusion of like what we have, the material things, like it's so powerful to have what we have. I mean, we're in this day and age where we can have a computer, we can have a phone, we have books galore, we can order things from Amazon. It's a plethora of stuff we are not without. There is no lack. You know, it's just this now idea born that says, you know, these thoughts are what I'm supposed to believe in order to be healthy and wealthy, when maybe in actuality, you know, it's a whole different terrain, and we're redefining that right now, right? So the constructive thoughts give us an opportunity to go, I wonder what is possible. And it's starting to happen, right? More and more people are being sustainable. More and more people are finding different ways of living that actually bring them joy and freedom, right? It's not so cut and dry of working for a corporation or doing these things that will give me money but not give me happiness, right? So it's all up for grabs, and guess what? You get to redefine it for yourself and what that looks like. And when we come into gratitude with that, like, I mean, so much more comes in the form of different ways of abundance, different ways of wealth, like resources, qualities, friendships, people, anything. It's funny because like I was just talking to her too about like myself. I have many, right? Might not be the amount that I think I need that would sustain me, but ultimately it supports me in the now and where I'm at and what I'm doing with my life in this moment. And then simultaneously, you know, I actually get the penthouse suite, or I get the ability to drive nice cars, because when I'm in congruency inside of myself, things kind of just come to me, and I'm just like, wow, I get this trip, I get like money, I get this and that as presents, and it's all like this actual bonus piece, right? And I'm enjoying my life. So there's different ways that it's showing up right now that we're really, it's like, can you bring your thoughts to what is possible? Because in the sixth dimension, these thought forms are in creation, right? And when we, you know, this company, Sai Seminars used to always say to think is to create. Not that you're creating everything, but you're looking at the potentials. And not that when you focus on something so-called negative that it will create. It's just realizing, can you stay neutral and see like that duality exists and go, I'd like to focus here and allow myself to acclimate to that higher frequency, to begin to create from that space, and allowing my energy to focus there instead of there, right? And get all fearful and overwhelmed and all crazy, right? However, if that's your experience, then you're moving through energy within yourself, right? You're moving through what you thought and believed to be true that was conditioned. And when you move through that, as well as, dissolve the emotions and the energy around it, you have more access to follow your most right and perfect path. All right. Is there anything else that I'm needing to share right now? Like, I know that this is very maybe expansive, maybe unknown to you. Maybe you just need to listen to the sound of my voice, because ultimately I'm like bringing in this code, these activations for you to remember who and what you are. I'm doing it to myself too. I mean, it's powerful to be able to go, brum, as it comes in through me, if it affects me and it affects you as you're listening. And I couldn't do any other topic today. I really didn't know. I was like, I'm just going to speak, and here we are. So how powerful is that? There's nothing else to clear around this, because right now we just got to, again, focus on the potential of where we are, accept that we are where we are, and in that acceptance, we can grow and give ourselves freedom to recreate anew, because it's all possible. It's just, which possibility are you focused on? All right, I can go ahead and do a mop up. I'm kind of amazed myself. I'm like, what's happening here? All right, go ahead and close the container, mop it up. Thank you, Heavenly Father, Mother Earth, guides, guardian angels, for your love and support throughout this message. Although it is quite expansive and big, may we begin to understand that with each and every little step we make and take, that we are making a choice towards more of what we prefer. And if we are making choices in what we don't prefer, we're really going to be shown that. It's going to be very evident, and to not be afraid of that. It's just showing us what we've left within our subconscious and have followed for probably forever. And now it's igniting up to let us know what we do prefer and where we wish to go. And with that, may we open to our potential, our divine blueprint of who and what we are. And may we know ourselves as that, as creators, as ones that can, open up to what life is and meet and greet it and receive her in all ways. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. Aho, may it be so. Voila. Well, that was a little crazy and powerful. I'm sorry I didn't get to really interact. Like, it was just coming through. So I guess that's what it was today. I hope you have a beautiful weekend and enjoy this Taurus energy as we welcome in spring and the heat and the growth and the changes. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Love, light, and aloha. Bye. If you felt a shift today, this is just the beginning. Join us inside New Paradigm Healing Academy to go deeper into clearing, energy work, and soul remembrance. Subscribe, like, and share this with someone ready to release the old and embody the new. Together, we rise in frequency across all timelines.